A guy hitting .213 doesn't understand what Dave Roberts means when it comes to lack of execution. Giorgio Chiellini makes it official. He signs with LAFC and then celebrates by dressing up like a UPS driver. And the Rams. You know, they actually can bring back Odell Beckham Jr. We're going to talk about how. Good morning. This is James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is Faithful Angelenos. It is June 14th, 2022. I'll be honest with you, I am hiding a bitter mood. I am going to be on a plane later today, flying back east to try to make a little extra money in Joe Biden's America. Good luck to us all with that. Having said that, I still want to talk LA sports, and if you like the content we've been putting out for the last 4 months, clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notifications bell. Hit that. We try to put out videos between 9 and 10 a.m. every day to let you know it's there. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yeah, comment. I'm not perfect. I get it. So there were no games involving LA teams yesterday. Today there is one. The Freeway Series kicks off over at Dodger Stadium, a 2-game set with the Angels. Tonight, Tony Gonsolin, he's 7-0. He will face Noah Syndergaard, 4-4. And then the next night, the Dodgers will play with Tyler Anderson. He's also 7-0. Reed Detmers, 2-2 for Anaheim. So, let's get real. Remember about a month ago, the national press was all agog about, both New York teams and both Southern California teams, they're leading their divisions. It's never happened. This is amazing. Yeah, the Angels are no longer in first place, and they fired their manager last week. So it could always be worse. But some people were referring to the Angels as an LA team, and I think we need to nip that in the bud. The Angels are not an LA team. Angel fans want nothing to do with Los Angeles, and honestly, the feeling is mutual. So we'll spend a little bit more time talking about the Dodgers when we preview this series. The first thing that should trouble us is the Dodgers were shut out twice last week. Remember, this was the team that was supposed to be the greatest offense of all time. And last week we were talking about how there was this big hole in the middle third of the lineup. You know, the top 3 guys are just hitting the cover off the ball, and the middle third was just like a black hole. Well, like a cancer, lack of hitting is starting to spread. Leadoff hitter Mookie Betts is one of his last 34. Freddie Freeman is hitting just .229 this month. And it's starting to get a little silly with the Dodgers, because the LA Times makes everything emotional. And that is a real problem. Instead of just telling us how things are, they're starting to make us all, they're writing again. It's trying to make us all get emotional, like we're all going to float down a river of estrogen and just get in touch with our inner child and all that other crap. Here's their headline: 4 ways that the Dodgers can cope with the loss of Walker Buehler. Cope with the loss. This isn't a close relative dying, okay? This isn't dying alone. This isn't a tragedy involving it's a baseball pitcher with a hurt arm, who by all indications is probably going to pitch again by the end of the year. Stop it. We don't have to cope with the loss. We're grown-ass adults here, okay? Let's stop it. Coping with the loss. And then comes out this really ridiculous advice. You know what the Dodgers can do? They ought to let Julio Urias go. Yeah, no kidding. Let him go. Let him pitch. Yeah, we never thought of that, right? They really need to rely on the rest of their rotation. They have no choice but to rely on the rest of the rotation. Maybe they would explore a trade. Yeah, we know. This is the problem when you write emotionally instead of using the God-given knowledge. We know they're going to do those sort of things. This doesn't need to be written. And then, of course, because you want to stir up some controversy, which is fine, I get that part, they go to Justin Turner after Dave Roberts, the manager, is saying, we're just not executing. And Justin Turner, with a .213 average, doesn't understand what the problem is. He said he doesn't know what Roberts meant. And you know what? Fine, whatever. I'm not going to sit there and argue about cutting Justin Turner. He's been a fine player for the Dodgers for many years. This is a problem that gets solved with 5 minutes chatting with Dave Roberts in the manager's office. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. I kind of like the fact that I'm getting a little angry about it. Not because I'm, going to start bawling like a little punk in front of you guys, but let's just be real. If I'm starting to get upset about it, there's a pretty good chance that the Dodger players are going to be a little annoyed themselves. Because the best shot the Angels have in this series is pettiness. Hear me out. Phil Nevin is the interim manager after they fired Joe Madden last week. Phil Nevin played the bulk of his career with the San Diego Padres, perennial also-rans to the mighty LA Dodgers. The Padres fan base marks every Dodgers game on the calendar as if it's life and death. Oh, we're going to stay classy. We're San Diego. LA sucks. Yeah, go ahead and impress me. Where's your championship flag? But we'll put that to the side for the moment. So this alleged rivalry with the Padres extended to the players, and Phil Nevin definitely bought in. If Phil Nevin replicates that with the Angels, which can happen because he has a reputation of a hothead. He was once reprimanded for obscene gestures to fans. He may have stirred up a brawl between the Yankees and the Red Sox when he coached in New York. This is a guy who takes alleged rivalry games extremely seriously. That's his shtick. It always has been. Always has been. That's the Angels' best shot, to be petty. As for the Dodgers, they need to basically get a little bit more upset with themselves and try to work from there. Just a little bit more fire in the belly, because it looks like they're going through the motions. It's not the end of the world. Talk a little LAFC. Georgio Chiellini, he is an Italian soccer legend. Played a lot of international ball for Italy. Juventus won Serie A titles there. He is now confirmed he is signed with the club. It is an 18-month contract, little more than $600K, less than the $1.6 million that you would use to sign a designated player. They are not expecting him to play 90 minutes. They do expect him to mentor the younger players on the back line. Now, that's a pretty pricey thing for $600K unless you plan on selling a lot of jerseys along the way. And of course, the black and gold, they did their hype video to sign because they signed a major international star. Look, the guy, you should go on Twitter and look at the photo. The guy looks like an assistant manager at a Jiffy Lube who is saying, if we don't get your oil change done in 15 minutes, the next one's free. That's what he looks like, as opposed to an international superstar. But don't get me wrong. If he can figure out how to coach up LAFC's younger defense, then I guess maybe it's $600,000 well spent. I guess. Rams COO Kevin Demoff is optimistic the team can bring back Odell Beckham Jr. Quote, we would welcome him back with open arms tomorrow, even after he crashed Sean McVay's wedding. If you crash the head coach's wedding and we're still really willing to resign you, that's a good sign. In other words, they get that Beckham's a little nuts. Now, you're saying, okay, but he's an elite receiver, even though he's injured. How can they slide him in under the cap? Glad you asked. When the Rams extended Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald, what they did was they kicked the financial can down the road. They pushed all the things down the side. They're back-ended contracts. In other words, the Rams are going to have to figure out how to pay it off later. But oddly enough, now they have cap space. They have $7.6 million in cap space. So they're going to play a few games, figure out where their holes are, and if they can fit Odell Beckham Jr. halfway towards the year, maybe 2/3 of the way towards the year, then they go for it. Remember, Odell Beckham Jr. is probably not going to be fit to play until halfway or 2/3 of the way through the year. There's no purpose in signing him now. Russell Westbrook of the Lakers was given the key to Oklahoma City. He played 11 seasons with the Thunder, and I'm certain that I heard this story, and I wanted to be happy for him, but I can't help but wonder, what's it like to get the key to a tornado-ravaged manure pit? Why would you want that? It's nice. It's nice to be liked. It's kind of like getting that craptacular gift from your grandma. It's like you need money to make the rent, and she basically hands you a pair of mittens, and you're 45 and you live in LA. What do I need mittens for? And that's what a key to Oklahoma City means to me. The Kings' Adrian Kempe is a restricted free agent. The Athletic, they went to some analytics folks. They asked them what's Adrian Kempe going to cost the Kings to keep him, and they went through the numbers. They looked through comparable players with those sort of stats. They believe that Adrian Kempe is worth a 5-year deal, $6 million per year. Kings have cap space. They should be able to fit that. USC. Recruiting news. They have added an offensive tackle from Ventura for the class of 2023. He is a 3-star tackle, Tobias Raymond, rated 69th. The 69th best offensive tackle in the country. So he's not exactly a needle mover, I would imagine, but if as long as he fits what the Trojans need for next year, or the year after, I should say, so be it. And finally, Jules Bernard of UCLA. Just because he didn't go to the draft combine, it doesn't mean people are not interested. He worked out for the Washington Wizards last week. What does that mean? I have no idea. Having said that, if you enjoyed today's broadcast, catching up on LA sports, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You should like and subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We try to provide a comprehensive look at LA sports each and every day. My name is James. Thank you for watching. Faithful Angelenos is a Kia Corta El Queso production. We'll be back tomorrow.